All right, so let me guess. You would like to get a steady flow of leads and clients for your business. How do I know that? Because you clicked on this video. And I'm so glad that you did, because I want you to be able to see how you can actually do this and get this without being on the content hamster wheel that we've all been on one time or another. And I want to show you how powerful this is on how you can create one simple strategic video every single week, very simply, and how it can attract your ideal clients that are qualified, but also that builds your authority. It also builds your trust. And we all know that when someone trusts you more, they're a lot easier to get to want to buy from you or become one of your clients. If you do sales calls, well, it becomes a lot easier to make that close because they already know, like, and trust you. And here's the other thing. While we're doing this, we're not just putting out a piece of content and hoping that it gets views that day. What we're doing is we're planting seeds. So this way here, these can work today, tomorrow, a month from now, and years from now of the way that we're doing it. And that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this workshop. Now, we are going to be covering a ton here, so you're probably going to want to come back to this and review it. But also, I've created a guide, a playbook that you can actually download, and you can have it that'll walk you through this process so you can start to implement it. So if you do want a copy of that, just comment playbook down below, and I'll make sure that you get a copy. So with all that being said, let's get started. All right, so once again, my goal for this workshop for you is to learn how to create a steady flow of leads and clients with just one simple video per week. That is my goal, and that is my goal for you as well. Now, little real talk here. Most business owners are trying to get attention the hard way, and the key word there is attention. We don't necessarily care about attention. What we care about is attracting, there's a difference there, attracting our ideal clients. And we don't need to get attention on all of these platforms that we've all been probably experimenting on one time or another. I'm guilty of it, okay? And so we don't need to do all this short form content, and I don't really want to, because it feels like you're on a content hamster wheel. And let me know in the comments if I'm the only one that has felt like that or who has done that. I mean, who wants to post an Instagram reel, a Facebook reel, a TikTok reel, a YouTube short? And I know we're hearing from the gurus out there that we can be everywhere. All we need to do is create one piece of content and then chop it all up and use a tool and then just blast it out there. We all know it's not as easy as that sounds, but also it's really not as effective, because the people that are on these platforms, and I don't just mean the people, the ones that are doom scrolling are not necessarily the ones that we want anyway, because we want someone that's going to go deeper with us. And that's where long form content comes in. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on here today. All right. But it's not doing this right here. We want to move away from that. And the problem with that short form is that it's usually only good for 24 to 48 hours. And then all of a sudden it's no longer going to be shown as much as it could have in the first 24 or 48. People that are on it, short attention spans. There's no compounding benefits usually. There's no evergreen assets, meaning that next year at this time, after you post that video, you're probably not going to get a lot of long tail or a lot of views from that. And then people are posting on a really, really strict schedule, and that's exhausting. We don't want that. And that's where burnout comes into play. And then we don't do anything. That's not good either, because now we can't attract our ideal clients because we've now just shut down everything as far as content goes. Now, the real goal is that most businesses want steady quality leads that turn into clients without being on social media 24/7. And that is the goal that we are going to achieve here today. So why YouTube? Well, it's very simple. I've been on YouTube now for a very long time, and I call it now the Evergreen Effect. This is where people can find your videos right now, but well into the future. And I've actually got proof of this, and I'm going to share that here in a little while. But you also get the benefits of the platform for discovery, for browse, for search. You get all of that traffic built right in there. It's also the ultimate trust builder for you to get people to know, like, and trust you a lot faster. And you can also get steady leads and clients 24/7, 365 because of this evergreen asset and the effects from it. Now, I've been doing this for over 18 plus years. I've seen YouTube evolve in several different iterations. It used to be just a search-driven platform where you would just search for something and you would find it. And that's how I started using it. Then they started introducing suggested videos, and they still have that, and it's great. Now they have homepage recommendations, and you have AI-driven audience matching, which is incredible. And so the thing is we have to realize that YouTube is powerful if we use it strategically, and that's what we want to do. Now, small channels don't need massive audiences to build real businesses, because over the years, I've realized you don't need millions of subscribers. I've generated multiple 6 and 7 figures in various businesses built on the back of YouTube without going viral and without having hundreds of thousands of subscribers, because we went after the audience and built that know, like, and trust from the content. Okay, you don't need to go viral and you don't need huge view counts. Okay, that's the cool thing. Now, here's a real world example that I want to share with you, because this has happened to me. It's probably happened to you, and I want to show you exactly how it works. Now, if you are a coach, a consultant, or a service provider, you're going to understand this because you're going to see how this can really pertain to you. All right, so here's the story. I was 51 years old and I was thinking about investing and retirement. I mean, as you get older, you start thinking about it a little bit more. And that's what I was doing. So I did a search on YouTube about investing, and I forget what the exact search was, but I was looking into that. I found a guy who was talking about retirement. This guy right here, which I'll tell you a little bit more about him here in a minute. But I clicked and I watched this guy's video. And then guess what happened? The next day, I opened up the YouTube app and there he was again. And I spent another 20 minutes with him. And I found out that his name is Jacob. And I found out that he was married and that he had 2 kids and that he's been doing this now for over 10 years. And so after I watched that video, guess what I did? I watched another video and I spent more time with him now. So at this point, I've probably consumed 40 minutes, maybe even 60 minutes of his content. And that's where the binge loop happened. I loved his case studies. I loved it because it was not necessarily my situation, but I was curious about someone else's situation. And I was like, okay, if I did be in this situation, like if I wanted to, have a huge tax savings, that one there spoke to me. And so I love just seeing like how the investment strategy would go on someone else. And so I was learning from that. And after I consumed hours of his content, I now felt like I knew him. And I developed a deeper trust for him. And then guess what happened? I became a client. His name is Jacob Duke. Great guy. And since then, I've actually strategized with him a little bit about his YouTube channel. It's been kind of fun. But I told him the story on how I found him, and it actually made him even more of a believer because now I'm a client of his. He manages my portfolio. He does my investing. And now I plan on having a relationship with him for many, many years. And he's going to benefit from that. He's going to make money for the years to come. All right. So that's how that all evolved. Now, I want you to think about the asset shift here for a second. The difference between content that disappears and content that compounds. So if we think about the short form video content, that's where people are like, you know what? It's easier to do. I could do a bunch of those. I could cut it up from interviews that I've been on or whatever. And I can just post it on a whole bunch of platforms. So in theory, it sounds amazing. You're like, I could be everywhere. The problem is, like we mentioned earlier, that the content doesn't stick around for that long. All right. And the people generally consuming that are doom scrollers. I'm one of them, by the way. I do some doom scrolling, but I don't really find that person that I'm going to buy into necessarily. Now, there's some cases where you become an influencer and all of that stuff, but are you trying to become an influencer? Are you trying to attract your ideal clients so you can serve them and make a bigger impact? That's what I'm trying to do. So I want you to imagine this for a second. Let's say that you post one video per week, you reach potential dream clients, you get steady leads consistently, you build your authority, and you build your trust all at the same time. And that's what I call the content asset builder. That's what's happening now. Every time that we plant a video seed, that's what I call it, we're able to now create this harvest of all of these pieces of content that are going to be there for our potential clients to find us and then consume us and then potentially hire us. And the cool thing about this being an asset builder using YouTube, that is we get everything I mentioned. We get discovery, we get browse, we get suggested, and we get search, all of those different things. All right, now the other cool thing about this is why I call it an asset, is because now we can also use it for our email list. So when someone becomes a lead, they might have found one video. Now they might not go watch more videos of you on YouTube because maybe they don't spend a ton of time on YouTube, but they found it that one day. But now you're on their email list, and guess what? You have a video that you posted maybe 3 months ago that was a really good video. You send that out to your email list, and guess what? They consume it. And then they watch another 20 minutes of you or 10 minutes of you or whatever. And collectively over time, they start knowing you more, liking you more, and trusting you more. And that's where we can really, really accelerate this trust thing and this authority thing, which is so, so powerful. So the one video advantage is this, okay? This is how it can keep working for you long after. We keep getting attention, and we keep getting leads, and we keep getting clients from that one video. That one video has the potential to do all of that. Now, here's a great example of an older video that is an evergreen asset. Now, if you look at this, I took this screenshot in a 12-month period, and you can see when it first released, it wasn't getting a ton of views, but that's okay. After day 60, it started to get some views, and it's slowly over the course of time, it's getting those steady views, and it's getting us attention, but more importantly, it's attracting our ideal customer or client, all right? We're planting a seed, and then we're letting YouTube do its thing. The other thing is, like I just mentioned though, if we don't want to wait around for YouTube, we can also utilize that asset inside of our marketing with our email list, all right? So those are some things that we can continue to do. But you can see this is an older video that's still producing. So you plant it and it still continues to grow, which is amazing. Now, it's still getting leads. If you look here, and there's a strategy, and you're going to see how we deploy this here in a little bit, and you'll be able to model it if you choose to, but this is still getting leads, all right? Even a year later, this video is still attracting people who want this lead magnet, okay? Now, the leads don't stop when you stop posting. That's the power of evergreen content. And you can see right here, I circled all of these. This is people requesting this lead magnet. That word hooks, that's part of our strategy on how we do this. You'll see that here in a little bit. So you can see this one was 11 months ago, but then you see another one was 20 minutes ago, and another one was 6 hours ago, and another one was 6 hours ago. So you can see one could be from 11 months ago, and one could be from 6 minutes ago. All right, that's the power of an evergreen asset. Now, here's a great example from Corey Quinn, who I actually shared this strategy with in a mastermind that I'm part of, and he used it. But the one thing I want you to notice here is that the video only has 178 views at the time of me taking the screenshot, okay? 178 views, and to most people, that'd be like, it didn't do that great. But look at, on the left-hand side there, those are the leads that he got from this video with only 178 views. And why this is so important and why this is so powerful is because he charges between $5,000 and $10,000, the last I checked with him, on his coaching. So each one of them now is worth $5,000 to $10,000. So you can do the math there. That's pretty solid. All right, now here's another couple of videos that he put out. 240 views on the one. He got some leads on the left there. On the right-hand side here, we have a 396 view video, and he's got a bunch there that they're requesting his guide. That's his lead magnet. And you can see he's building his list with multiple assets now. Now, here's a great story that I want to share with you. This is Amy, who started working with us not that long ago. And you can see right here, she has a video with only 99 views, okay? And this was an older video, actually, at the time that we did this. We started working with her after she had already been kind of playing around with YouTube. And this one here has 99 views. She got 12 comments. Now, on the right-hand side here, you can see the results. She sells a program for $7,500, and she made a sale from her YouTube content. And she states it right here in our private group. And she shared that she also picked up another client. So she must charge like another, what's that, $4,500 for another program. So she's made $12,000. And it says here, 110 subscribers. That's all the channel had at the time that she had this going on. And 2 clients from that. And she's gotten a $7,500 sale. And then she made another sale. So it's $12,000 from that. So 2 clients in 8 weeks for $12,000 from this strategy. And the cool thing is these videos, they might get 1 lead every 5 days, but she might have 50 videos up there. And you can see every time we put up a new video once a week, that would be 52 assets that we could have. All right. Now, that is the power of being able to use YouTube strategically with just posting 1 video per week. Now, once again, I want to show you the low views, the high ticket results. You can see Nathan Barry here on the left-hand side. He has a podcast, and it's not a really big podcast. He posted on YouTube, 2,900 views. He had Dustin Riekman on the show, and he basically just taught what he does in his business. Now, he charges $10,000. Dustin does. He charged $10,000. I'm a client of his, by the way, and I'm a good friend of his now. And he shared these results. He did it publicly, actually, with his community. And he made $140,000 from that one video. From that one video that was posted, well, that says a year ago now. But this $140,000, I believe, was in the first 6 months. So that video is still working for him. It's an evergreen asset. It's an evergreen asset. And here's one last example I want to share with you. And this is our own personal channel that we've grown. And you can see we've gotten 16,458 contacts, and we've gotten 10,900 of them that are still engaged. And the cool thing is this is all organic. These are leads on our email list that we didn't pay a dime for. Actually, YouTube paid us, which is pretty incredible. All right, so now that you're probably saying, all right, this is awesome, Scott, but how does it work? Well, let's dig in. So here's like the 10,000 foot view of what it looks like with a video after you post it. So we post the video. We are going to put a link in our description. We're going to put a link in our pinned comment to our lead magnet. That is how you're going to get your leads. So we want to put those in. And then from there, we're also going to comment a keyword. Now, if you go back to the beginning of this and remember what I did, I said, hey, listen, if you would like to get our playbook for this workshop, just go ahead and comment playbook down below and we'll send it to you. And this, again, would be another call to action. If you want to see this in action, just go ahead and comment playbook down below and we'll send it to you. That's the part where we're asking you to comment the keyword. Now, there is no automation with this, at least at this time. And honestly, we don't really want there to be, because we're not looking at getting thousands upon thousands of leads every single day. We can manage these, or you can have a VA do it. But we do want to go in there because sometimes we're going to reply that's not related to a lead. It's already a lead magnet. We are just going to have a conversation with these people because it's good for building that know, like, and trust. So we want to do some things in our business that aren't necessarily scalable or where you can automate them. I'm a big fan of doing that because in the day and age of AI, we need more of that, I believe. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to reply with the link. We are going to send them to a landing page. We're going to send them to a thank you page, and then we're going to follow up with an email. And that part there is all automated. So once they go ahead and get on that landing page and they enter their email address and they click submit that they want the download, they're going to automatically go to a thank you page and they're automatically going to get that email follow-up. All right, that's all automated. The only thing that we have to manually do here is in the video, we need to mention the lead magnet, right? And then we need to follow up in a comment to direct them over to the landing page. So now this is our steady leads flywheel. Now we're gonna go deep into each one of these different areas, and I'm gonna break down exactly what it looks like, and you're gonna have some exercises to do. So this way here, you could literally build this if you want to, because this has to be done before we actually create the content. And you'll see why here in a little bit, but we need to build the flywheel. So the very first thing is the S, and that is specific niche. We have to specify and get really, really clear on your audience. Who are you helping? What is the crisis that you're helping them with? Because that is going to be super important when we start creating the content to attract the perfect dream client. All right. The second thing is the T. That is, we have to come up with our freebie. We have to figure out what are we going to trade them as far as value goes in exchange for their email address. All right, so that's the trade that we need to do. So we need to come up with what that looks like. I don't know what yours is. You might need to come up with one, and I'll give you some ideas here in a little bit. Ours is a playbook of this exact workshop. All right, so that's what ours is right now. I've had other ones too, and I'll cover a few of them here in a little while and show you some more examples. But you do have to come up with something that people are going to find valuable and they're going to be able to use right away. So that's that. The E is for email. That's the email collection system. And we're going to break that down, but we have to have a way to collect the email and then do the follow-up. The A is for attract with video. That is where we have to figure out what are we going to put in the video that's going to attract them. All right. And then from there, the D is for design, designing the packaging. And this is extremely, extremely important. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So don't worry. And then the Y is for YouTube. That's the YouTube upload and promotion. All right. So that's the flywheel, and we have to build it before we create any content. And we're going to do that here today. So if you want a little bit more of a checklist, here's what it would look like. And once again, this is all in the playbook. So if you want that, you know what to do. All right. So the content machine now. Now the content machine looks like this. Once we get the flywheel built, now what we got to do is we got to feed it. Okay. And that is going to be the engine that is going to then allow the flywheel to start moving and to start building some momentum. So once we have the flywheel done, now we know, okay, we have to come up with our topic. We have to come up with a good YouTube title. We have to come up with a video outline, packaging, upload it, engage, promote, and repeat. That is the content machine. Now, it might seem like a lot. It's really not. Once you break this down, you could literally probably create one video a week in an hour or less. And I'm going to show you how. So just recap real quick. We have our steady leads flywheel. That's what we got to build. And once we build this, we don't have to build it again. It's all done. We build it once and then we just feed it. And then we have our content machine, which is basically going to produce the content. All right. So now let's get into a little bit more detail. This is what we call phase one. This is building the flywheel. This is the simple system that's going to turn YouTube videos into a lead machine and hopefully a client machine. All right, so let's get into it. The S, we talked about that briefly. We're going to go deeper here. This is where we are specifying the audience. And a great way of doing this is creating your authority blueprint. So the way that we do it is, and this is what we do with our clients, is we have to figure out how can we take your expertise that you're teaching or that you're coaching, how can we take that, extract it from your brain and create content? And there is a system, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. But we want to create your authority blueprint. This creates a content plan that builds the foundation for attracting your dream clients. Now, once you do this, it's going to feel so good because now you don't even have to really think too much about what you're going to put into the content machine because it's all going to be done right here. So that's why we're going to want to do this part next. So here's the different elements. There's 6 different parts. I'm going to break each one of these down. And then from there, you're going to have so many ideas and so many things that you can create content on, but there is a specific order that I'm going to give you that you could literally have your next 30 to 40 days worth of content, maybe even 60 days worth of content already planned out. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start here. This is your authority blueprint. So every great video starts with clarity, and you need to answer these 4 questions to build your content foundation. So this is going to be an exercise for you to do. So you'd want to either pause this video, write this down on a notebook, or like I said, you can download the playbook. So number 1, who? Who do you help? All right. Now be specific. The narrower, the better. So an example would be relationship coaches who help women save their marriage. All right. That's very, very specific. Then we move on to number 2, what? What is the transformation that they want? So what is the end result that they are desperate to achieve? Example, save my marriage and create a stronger, more connected relationship. Very, very specific, right? And then the third, another, what problem do they struggle with? So list their biggest challenges, frustrations, and roadblocks. These are going to become video topics. Now, you might say, I'm not really sure. Well, if you're working with clients, you already probably know. And if not, you need to start paying attention. But there's ways that you can figure this out just by looking at comments on other people's videos or other posts in a school group or a Facebook group, right? You want to figure out what are the problems they're struggling with. And then number 4 is, what is your unique approach? What is your unique approach? Your philosophy, your process or framework that gets them results. This becomes the core of your content. So I'll be honest with you right now. You are watching this. This is a piece of content that also gives our philosophy. It also gives our framework, our system that we do when we work with a client. So we're basically giving you all of that because we know that there's going to be a small percentage of people that are going to want help implementing this. So this is where you want to share your philosophy, your processes, your frameworks, all in your videos. And this video right here that I'm doing today is doing exactly that. Now, this one here is what we call an anchor piece of content, which I'm going to get in here in a second. But this piece of content that you're watching right now is specifically going through all of that. All right. It'll make more sense as we kind of move through this. But this here is your content foundation. Everything you create is going to flow from this. Everything. All right. So it's worth spending some time here on doing this. All right. So number 2, I just mentioned the anchor video. This right here that you're watching is an anchor video. Okay. We're going to teach the philosophy, our philosophy, and we're going to create one long form video that introduces your core framework and overall philosophy. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So this is generally going to be 10 to 20 minutes. In some cases, it could be 60 minutes. It could be 2 hours. Okay. There's really no limits, but I would say a 10 to a 20 minute minimum. All right. It teaches your big picture framework. It establishes you as the go-to expert. And this is the hub that all other videos are going to connect to. And you're going to see an example on how this all works here shortly. All right. So example titles of this could be How I Help Women Save Their Marriage, my proven framework. The 5-step system I use to help couples reconnect and rebuild. From disconnected to deeply connected, my step-by-step process. All right. Now, this video gets linked to all of your other content. Like I said, this is your anchor piece. All right. This could even be one that you email your list in your autoresponder in your first 2-3 emails. Okay. Because it's going to show your entire philosophy and your framework. Okay. So that's why, again, this is an evergreen asset that we're creating that can be used in multiple different ways. All right. The third thing is we need to now break down the framework. Okay. Turn each part of your framework into its own 8 to 10 minute video. This becomes your pillar videos. Okay. So let me show you what I mean. Your framework example would be if you were in the relationship world. We have a client, Lindsay, who I'll show you here in a little bit, who is in this space. And that's why I'm using her, because it's top of mind. Rebuild connection. That's mindset. Communicate with clarity. Simple communication tools. Third, heal the hurt, repair trust and resolve conflict. 4, rekindle intimacy, emotional and physical. And 5, build a marriage that lasts, habits and daily connection. So see, those are maybe the frameworks that they teach. Okay. Now the pillar videos you can see over here on the right, these are going to be turned into 8 to 10 minute videos, but these are also going to be the central hub of the anchor video that was already created. All right. So rebuild connection, the foundation of a strong marriage, how to communicate so your partner actually listens, heal past hurts and rebuild the trust you've lost, how to bring back intimacy and feel close again, daily habits that keep your marriage strong for life. Okay, these videos dive deep into each piece of your framework and they build trust, position you as the expert. Okay, and they're also going to lead your audience to real results. And when they get results, they're going to know, like, and trust you even more, right? Because that's how trust is built. Okay, so that's your third thing, is we want to break down that framework. Now, number 4, this is really cool. Answer the questions they're already asking. So what we're doing right now is we are taking things that they are already asking and we're going to turn these into videos, okay? You want to use real questions from your audience to create more videos that build authority and attract your ideal clients. So let's take a look and see, where would we find these types of questions? Well, number 1, a lot of people don't use this, is you can go to YouTube auto search and just search in the bar up there and then just let it auto complete, right? Like how to fix marriage, and then let it fill it in. It'll say something like when husband was cheating, or, like when wife was cheating, or any of that stuff. You get what I'm saying, right? The next one is comments on your videos or other people's videos, DMs and emails if you're getting those, coaching calls if you're consulting, Facebook groups and forums. Okay, so all of those are great places to get questions that your audience is asking. And then what you do is you turn those into videos. Okay, and these are really good for search traffic. So, do I need couples therapy or relationship coaching? How do I get my partner to communicate with me? How do we rebuild trust after betrayal? We keep having the same fights. How do we break the cycle? Can our marriage survive if we've grown apart? So you can see, I'm not going to go through all of them, but these are questions that are being asked that now you would supply the answer. And that's a great way to create content that attracts your ideal client. All right. So the 5th thing is address common myths and objections. Okay. Create videos that bust myths and handle objections before they keep people from working with you. So common myths. You have to do cardio for hours to lose weight. Now, this is if you were a fitness instructor. You need supplements to see results. You have to be perfect 100% of the time. You're too busy to get in shape. The scale is the only way to measure progress. And then common objections. It's too expensive. I don't have time. I've tried everything and nothing works. I'm not sure this will work for me. My relationship is too far gone for things to get better. That was a relationship one. So you see what I'm saying? Like, those are objections that people can have for working with you. You can answer them, or common myths. Okay. These videos are going to remove doubt, build trust, and pre-sell your offer. Okay. Number 6, your content foundation playbook. Okay. Follow this simple system to never run out of content ideas. So the first is your authority blueprint. We covered that. Okay. That's what we want. We want to get clear on who, what, and how you help them. The next thing is your anchor video. Teach your overall philosophy and framework. The third is pillar videos. Break down each part of your framework. Q&A videos. Answer the real questions your audience asks. Myths and objection videos. Remove doubts and position yourself as the solution. Okay. One system, endless content, steady leads. That's what we're going after. You're not just making videos, you're building an asset machine. And I really want you to understand that. When we do this pre-work, I'm telling you, it allows us to show up and deliver the content our clients are looking for. Now, here's what it looks like at a 10,000-foot view. We have our video masterclass. That is our anchor video, 5 to 7 step framework. We're going to teach that. That's what I'm doing here today in this right now. Okay. Then there's going to be step number 1 will be a dedicated video that we can go deeper in. Step number 2 is going to be video number 2. Again, maybe it's the second piece of the framework. We're going to go a little bit deeper. And so what we do now is we kind of splinter off different parts of what we taught in the bigger thing, because in reality, there's some people that are not going to sit through the entire thing because it's too long. So what do we want to do? We want to break each one down into bite-sized pieces, because now someone might go from video 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. You see how that works? Then what we want to do is create what we call our 5 by 5 by 5 content tree. This is where we have 5 questions. We answer those. We have 5 problems. We answer those. And then we have 5 myths, and we create videos for those. And that right there, if we look at that, that gives you a good foundation of content that you could create without even hardly trying, because you know this stuff. You're the expert. You're the one that's going to show up and deliver this for your audience. And do you see, we're kind of leaving breadcrumbs for them to find us. And we're planting seeds that are going to be evergreen assets for years to come. All right, so moving on, now we are into the T and the E of the steady. And that is, we're going to trade a freebie for an email. All right, and this is where we have to create the lead collection system. Okay, this stage is what makes the system work, and this can't be skipped. All right, because we're going to have our video, but then we're going to have our lead magnet, we're going to have our email sequence, we're going to have our next step offer in place, and then we're going to have a client. Okay, so we need those pieces in the middle. Okay, we need the lead magnet, we need the email sequence, and next step. We need those pieces, and that's what we're going to work on now. All right, so let's work on the T, the trade a freebie. We need to create a lead magnet, a small quick win that solves a specific problem in your niche. A great lead magnet effortlessly pulls in quality leads, just like this right here. So think about this. You're watching this, and I'm referencing, we have a playbook that will make it easier for you to go through this and be able to workshop through each section that I'm talking about right now, because there's a lot here. And I've created a playbook to make it easier. So that's a natural fit. If we can make something easier for you to get a result, that's what we're talking about. And once again, if you do want the playbook, just comment playbook down below and we'll send it to you. All right. But what makes a great freebie is something your ideal clients want so much that they're excited to trade their name and email for it. That's the key here. So for you, you're watching this and you're like, I want steady leads and I want more clients. And I want this because I don't want to be on the content hamster wheel. So this sounds exciting. This sounds like something that I want to implement and that I want to put into my marketing. So there you go, right? It makes sense. Promise a fast win, fast value, and a fast solution. And what I mean by that is like, what is something that I can give you that you could start today and work progress towards achieving the result? For me right now, you getting this whole concept is going to allow you to at least start. And that's the thing. If we can get you to start, maybe you're going to go through the exercise where you're going to build out your authority blueprint, where you're going to come up with all of your content ideas. And then we're going to go ahead and start working on the next thing, which is the flywheel. And then we're going to work on the content machine in that order. But at least it gives you something that you can actually do. And that's the key there. All right. But some examples, I've had one pagers that have done really well. And that could be a checklist. It could be a guide. It could be a mini course. It could be scripts if you offer something that requires scripts, swipe files. All right. But once they've opted in, you've got permission now to start building a relationship with them via email and guide them towards becoming a client. And once we get them on our email list, you know this, we're going to be able to send them a video that we did that we might have shot 6 months ago. But to them, it's going to be new. And it's going to be still relevant because what we teach is always going to be relevant for the most case. Okay. So that's that. We want to get in front of the right people and we want to give them an opportunity to get something, to get a win and feel like they're making progress. That's the key here. All right. So the next piece is the email collection. This is where we actually have to have a page that converts them into a lead. And that is going to be through something like this. Now, this here was a very, very simple lead magnet, but you can see the page is not fancy. It says get access to 10 title formulas. I'll send you an email with the PDF that you can access on any device. Now, this is a perfect example of a very, very simple lead magnet. This here, I put together 10 of our top outlier titles, meaning outlier titles are ones that have worked well for us when they shouldn't have, because we had a really strong hook. And so those hooks now were turned into formulas. And I basically gave them away. And I said, hey, if you want that, just comment hooks down below and we'll send it to you. And that produced over 8,000 leads, okay? Just from that, a single page. So again, no fluff on the landing page, no nav bar. That's a big mistake I see a lot of people making, is where they'll put it on their website where they have a whole bunch of things they can do, make one dedicated landing page. The only job is to offer the download that you're willing to give them in exchange for their email address. And that's it. And this is just to show you it does not have to be fancy, okay? And so again, we want this to be in place, because if it's not in place, we can't collect the email. Now you might be watching this going like, I already have a lead magnet. I already have collection done. Good. Then that part's checked off. You don't need to do that. Or you might want to say, maybe I need to improve it. Maybe I got to make my lead magnet a little less complicated. Maybe I need to make it different because people are not wanting it as much. Or maybe just rethinking what is it that you can give someone of value that will make them have a win, or at least feel like they're making progress. All right. So that's the email collection. The landing page has one job: get the name, get the email. That's your lead. Now, the next piece is the thank you page. And again, keeping this simple. If you look at ours right here from one of our lead magnets, it just says you're in. We just sent the download to your inbox. Please allow up to 10 minutes. And if you notice, that's me and my son Scotty there smiling. I'm kind of like going, whoa, all right. And what that's doing is that's showing some personality. It's showing like, okay, that's us having a good time. We want to have a good time. That's who we are. So already I'm letting people know a little bit about us and kind of like how we operate. All right. But options for your page include tell them to check their inbox. Okay. Like we did there. Drop the download link right there. You don't even have to wait. You can just say, hey, we sent you something else. Go make sure that you get it. But the reason why we do this is because we want them to go to their inbox to make sure that the email went through and that they're going to be looking for it. Because if we do that, our chances of getting a better deliverability down the line is going to be that much higher. All right. We could also offer a low ticket product if we want to. I don't really think you should unless you're doing paid ads, because then we're trying to recoup money. I think that could hurt the relationship up front. Suggest a next step: book a call, binge a playlist, join a workshop. We've done free workshops where we're like, hey, we're doing a workshop this Thursday. Come join us. That's cool. We can do that. But basically just be human, a friendly sign off, and just build that connection. That's what the thank you page is job's all about. Now, what comes next is the email that you're going to be sending once they said they want the download. And this is important. Please do not skip over this. If you're sending emails right now with your header graphics and maybe some images, maybe some HTML in there, that is going to hurt your deliverability potentially in the future, because that first email is that one shot that you have of them actually getting it delivered to their inbox and not in their promotions and not in their spam folder, because we're going to create what we call a naked email. This is one that has nothing other than plain text and one link. That's it. And you can even see, I don't even have an emoji in there. I actually used some characters where it says, hey, it's Scott, with a little smiley face like I texted them. And I do that on purpose because I want this email to get in their inbox. So when they open it, there's a greater chance that they're going to signal to their email provider that we're connected, that they've opened an email from me. So my next email that goes out will most likely get delivered to their inbox. All right. So no fluff, build trust, get more opens by just sending a plain text email. All right. And a little pro tip: think like a friend, not a marketer. You're delivering value. You're not pitching. All right. So we basically have a subject line. We have a short and clear, get to the point fast type of email, clear link, and be human. That's it. That's the criteria for writing this email. And I'm not kidding you. This email, the open rates on this one were over, I believe the last I checked, 65 to 70%, which is extremely high. And so it works. So I would definitely say simple versus fancy. All right. And it's going to allow your email to reach them. And that's the ultimate thing that we want. We want them to become a lead that we can then start to build a relationship with. There's something that we call building KLT. And that's what we call know, like, and trust. And you might even want to jot this one down on a Post-it note and just stick it up on your computer, because every time that you're commenting, every time you're showing up on camera, or every time that you're sending an email, you want to say to yourself, am I allowing them to get to know me more, like me more, and trust me more? And that's the goal. Because what we're talking about here, if you're a coach, a consultant, service provider, and you're selling something high ticket, you need to build trust, and you need people to get to know, like, and trust you. All right. So that's why we call it the KLT effect. We want to show up. We want to deliver value to the audience on a regular basis. We want to tell them stories that help people relate and also reinforce our philosophy and also that we can help them. All right. So that's what we're trying to do. So we want to start the value loop as soon as possible. And the way that we do this is we use a simple automated loop to turn new leads into clients without being pushy. Number one, we follow up in the sequence. Okay. A few emails offering to answer any questions and introduce our story. All right. I like in like the first email to be like, hey, here's your download. And oh, by the way, what's your number one thing that you're struggling with right now in your business? Reply back and let me know. I reply to all emails and people are generally like shocked. I've had people that say, yeah, I know this is probably automated. I'm just trying to see if you'll respond. And I do respond. Now the automation is them getting that first email, but the minute that email lands in their inbox and if they were to reply, I get it and I reply. Okay. Again, doing the things that aren't necessarily scalable is what's going to make you stand out, at least in my opinion. All right. Weekly content, helpful tips and resources, and then natural pitches. Offer your paid program when it makes sense. All right. And now think about this. You've maybe grabbed the Steady Leads playbook and you might have gotten a ton of value from it, but you're probably more likely to stick around and trust us now that we've given you that and that you're here watching this right now. So we're building a relationship right now on the spot, which is amazing. And hopefully you're getting value and hopefully this is resonating and hopefully we are starting to build that relationship. I want you to think about every single piece of content that you're creating trust building assets, right? We're depositing these little assets that ultimately turn into trust builders, right? We have videos on YouTube that can become bingeable, right? Videos that attract the right people directly to you, okay? We deliver weekly emails, okay? We reintroduce your best content and keep that connection alive. And then we ultimately are repeating the exposure, and that's going to turn into building that know, like, and trust that we talked about. But think about it. People rarely buy from one interaction. Have you? Probably not. The Jacob story that I shared with you earlier, my financial advisor, it took several interactions, but I didn't have to meet with him to get that. I got to watch his videos, and after every video, I got a little bit more trust. I knew a little bit more about him, and we're building that over time, right? So that's that repeated exposure that is going to allow you to gain that. All right, so now we're moving into the A of the Steady, and that's attract, the video creation process. We're going to plan and we're going to create videos. That's what we're doing here. So now the video process, I'm going to go a little bit deeper a little bit later, but I wanted to give you like the overview of what it looks like because this is the attraction piece. This is the part that's going to actually attract our audience. So the video creation checklist, it's in these three parts. Again, I'm going to go deeper into this in a little while, but number one is your topic. This is driven by your niche and your lead magnet. Number two is your title. Okay, your title is extremely important, but it's not going to work if we don't have our topic properly figured out because we haven't figured out our niche yet. That's why it's so important that we do that. But that title is going to signal to YouTube who to show our videos to, our audience, the audience that we want to show up in front of. And then the third is our content sandwich outline. This is where we actually deliver or at least mention the lead magnet somewhere in the middle. That's why we call it the content sandwich outline. And I'll show you what that looks like here when we get into how to actually put all that together. All right. But when you get this right, okay, this video is going to give you more opportunity to gain free quality leads every time that we put this into that video. Topic, title, and content sandwich outline. All right. Those are the three main things. And we're going to cover those, like I said. All right. So the D, designing the packaging, extremely important because this is what's going to stop the scroll. All right. Each new video for your Flywheel needs a strategic title and thumbnail that stop the scroll. This is probably one of the most overlooked, but most important pieces. That's why I'm talking about it. So we keep our designs pretty simple, clear, easy to read at a glance. Specific, speaks to one problem or result, and then curiosity driven makes them want to click. All right. Remember, your title and thumbnail work together to answer one question in the viewer's mind. Will this help me with my specific problem? Okay. If your title and thumbnail don't get clicks, Nothing else matters. You could have the best video in the world, but if we don't get a click, we are not going to get a view. And if we don't get a view, we can't have someone watch our video and potentially get to know, like, and trust us and download our lead magnet and become a lead and then become a client. So it all has to happen. So title and thumbnail, extremely, extremely important. And that's the design, the packaging piece. Now, the perfect video formula, I want to cover this real quick because this is what it looks like. We have our title, which signals the algorithm, which gets us in front of our audience, which we just talked about. Thumbnail stops the scroll. People are scrolling. Boom, stops the scroll. From there, the intro hook. This is going to grab the attention. Okay. And then content value, that's number 4. That's where we're going to genuinely help them. All right. And then 5, we're going to give them an opportunity to binge our content. Okay. We're going to give them an opportunity to binge our content. That is the perfect video formula. Again, we're going to dive deeper into this as we go through this. Now, the why, the end of steady, is the YouTube upload and promotion. Okay. So I'm not talking about promoting it with paid ads at all. We are not. This is all organic. So we're going to show you how to promote it in a way that will help the algorithm, but also it'll connect with your audience, which will also help with some self-promotion. All right. So you're not done once you hit upload. Okay. This is where the flywheel starts to spin. Okay. We upload, we engage, and we promote it like a pro. All right, I'm going to show you how to become a pro. But the way you publish and promote your video will affect how far it travels, who sees it, and whether it drives leads. So number 1, we're optimizing our topics, our titles, our descriptions to help YouTube push our videos to the right people. Number 2, we're going to engage early. Replying to every comment trains the algorithm and your audience to engage, which fuels your flywheel even faster. Number 3, promote strategically. Okay, then your promotion triggers engagement, which signals to the algorithm that your videos are worth showing to more people. Meaning, if someone comments and you reply, that's an interaction. YouTube likes that because it shows that the video is useful. And it's also getting people to engage, which they know keeps people on the platform longer. And that's what they want. But also, this is building a relationship with that person, you and them. So that's why it's super important. And that is a strategic move there, by the way. And then 4 is build momentum. Every view, click, and comment adds to the momentum. Do this right and your video becomes 24/7 asset and keeps fueling your flywheel day after day. Once again, we're creating a system that has endless content that's not hard to create. It's strategically done and we get those steady leads. All right, so now we're in phase 2, and this is where we're gonna fuel the flywheel, all right? This is where we're gonna create a weekly workflow that keeps your flywheel spinning and spinning and spinning. That's the goal. So we talked about this before. This is the content machine, and now we're gonna work through this together. So let's get started. Number 1 is the topic. Now we briefly touched on this, but I'm gonna go a little bit deeper, okay? We need to pick the right topic that's going to attract the right people. We want to turn views into leads, which are technically opt-ins. All right. So number one is we're solving a specific problem, and your video should answer a clear question your ideal client has. Again, going back to your authority blueprint, we've already done that work. So that you should already know. But when we're doing this, we need to make sure that we're solving that specific problem. Okay. The second thing here is we need to resonate with the perfect client, speaking directly to that person who needs your solution. Okay. Think about it like they're coming to you and they're asking you questions, and you are going to give them exactly what they need for that specific thing. Okay. You're showing up and you're going to help them. Okay. And then the third is you're going to align this with your freebie. So you're going to make your free offer the obvious next choice, or the choice as you're explaining it. Now, here's an example on how you could do this. So let's say I'm talking about how you need to solve a specific problem in your content to pick the right topic, and that's going to resonate with your perfect client, and you need to have it align with your lead magnet. But you might be thinking, I don't know where to start with what content I should create. Well, actually, I talked about that in our entire Steady Leads playbook. And there's a part in there where I talk about creating your authority blueprint, which walks you through exactly how to do that. If you want a copy of that, just comment playbook down below and I'll send it to you. Once again, just comment playbook down below and I'll send it to you. You see what I just did there? I'm talking about this. This could be its own video, but then I just wove that in there to say, I actually covered that in our playbook, because there is a part in the playbook where I talk about it. I actually went through it with you guys, but if someone's not watching this full class, they're not going to see that. So you see where I went with that. It's not that hard to do. You just have to think about it and you have to align it with that. So hopefully that helped. But there's 3 areas, again, that we need to focus on here for the topic. 1, solves a specific problem. 2, resonates with your perfect client. And 3, aligns with your freebie. And I just want to say this, that momentum starts with audience clarity, okay? This is why it's so important to make sure that you go through the authority blueprint that I talked about, because that's going to help you understand who you're targeting, what problems they're dealing with, the crisis that they're dealing with. And that's going to happen before the titles and thumbnails or hooks. You need to know who you're creating this for. And this is the foundation for everything else that gets built from here on out, okay? So let me show you an example from one of our clients who 11 years ago was creating content before he found us. And this is what he was putting out. Gavin Bernstein, stationary bike. Gavin Bernstein, 6-point lunge. Gavin Bernstein, back extensions. So nothing there was describing a problem that his potential client was having. These are just like instructional videos, okay? Now, this is what happened when he got his messaging right and when he got clear on who he was serving. And we did a little bit of work with him as far as like how to figure out who are you actually working with the most? And he said people that are over 40. And we're like, okay, well, that's it. Well, now he's got some videos that have exploded. And you can see 1 exercise, 25 muscles. Okay. This 1 dumbbell exercise builds muscle everywhere. Everyone over 50 needs this. Okay. So that's for people that are like, oh my gosh, there's not a lot that I can do because I don't have the equipment or it takes too much time. And he's like, there's 1 dumbbell exercise that hits 25 muscles, right? Who doesn't want that? So you can see it. I'm going to show some more on Gavin here shortly because he's done an amazing job. Right here, you can see he has gotten well over 6 million views, which again, we're not focusing on views as much, but it just goes to show you he was doing this for a long time and then started working with us and got his messaging down. And then boom, things just started to happen and things just took off. Clarity makes everything stronger. I can't stress that. When you have clarity, you have better topics, better titles, better thumbnails, better retention, and better momentum. The unlock is when a channel has clarity because the audience immediately understands this is for me. This here is for me. And when viewers understand that quickly, guess who else does? YouTube. And YouTube will reward you by showing it to more people that is going to benefit from your content. And that's what we want. All right, so let's move on to number 2, the title. Okay, nailing the right title is important because it signals the YouTube algorithm who to push your videos to. Okay, meaning the audience. Your title gets the right people in the door. So think about it. You're just using the title to attract your ideal clients, but you also need to understand what the problems are that you could help them with, and then you want to weave them in. But the title is the most important part of the video as far as getting discovered. So that's why we have to make sure that we have that title right. A great title is going to call out your niche and it's going to spark curiosity. So examples for us, let's say we were doing this, how online coaches can get more leads without ads. So right away, you're like, well, I want more leads. I'm a coach. I don't want to spend money on ads, or I'm spending money on ads and I want to stop, right? I quit Instagram and my coaching business leads exploded. You're like, wait a minute, you quit and your business did better? I need to hear more about this, right? But I'm targeting coaches. Okay, I added 11,150 new email leads and potential clients to my coaching business using YouTube. You're like, wow, 11,150 new email leads? I got to hear about this. How can you stand out as a coach on YouTube, right? So again, you probably want to know, how do you stand out? Well, I'm going to show you that in that video. And you're like, I want to know how to stand out. So you can see how that calls out a specific type of person. That's not going to do well as far as reaching people that are not into coaching or people that are not in business. They're going to ignore it, or the algorithm's going to ignore it. But I want you to think about these as signals, and I'm going to cover the 3 most important ones right now. And the one that we're talking about right now is the title, okay? Because YouTube is going to identify who to put this video in front of because of the title, right? And strong titles, like I just said, they create audience relevance, signal emotional interest, and help YouTube match the right viewers. Now, here's some great title examples I want to share with you because I think it demonstrates the point that I'm trying to make here. If intimacy is a struggle in your marriage, send your wife this. Women, 7 patterns you don't realize are sabotaging your marriage. Men, start asking this before you give up on your marriage. Men, feeling disrespected and unappreciated by your wife? Do this. 5 daily habits men don't realize are destroying their marriage. 5 daily habits women don't realize are destroying their marriage. So all she did there was she just flipped it, you see? So those are some really, really good titles that are calling out relationship people, marriage, okay, couples, and men and women. And you can see some of the verbiage she knows because she's dealing with her clients. Oh my gosh, my husband is just sabotaging our relationship. Or I feel like I'm sabotaging my relationship. She's using the word sabotaging most likely because a lot of her clients have used it and she knows that that's common language. It's a common thing that she hears in her audience, and that's why she's using it. Now, these here, they focus on a result. This 1 dumbbell exercise builds muscle everywhere. Everyone over 50 needs this. And then check this out, little side note here. It's worth repeating, by the way. This here was done 7 months ago, and that one was done 10 months ago. So all he did was he repeated it, changed it up a little bit. Everyone over 40 needs this instead of everyone over 50 needs this. But the same exact title, although one is spelled out with one is the numeric number, but same thumbnail. And look at the one did 1.7 million views, the other one did 1 million views. Okay, clear outcome, low effort signal, and it's for the right person. So those are just some ideas I want you to start wrapping your brain around as far as what a good title looks like. It's not just your generic, boring title that doesn't really speak to your ideal client. All right, so next up is our video outline. And this is where I want to really simplify this for you because it's broken down like this. And this is what I actually call the content sandwich as well. You can see it there. But what we're doing here is we're just giving a reason for them to stick around. How many times have you been on a video and it sounded something like this? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for showing up today. Do me a favor, before we get started, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button too while you're at it, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another one of my videos. I really appreciate you showing up today. They're gone, right? We don't want to do that. What we want to do is get right into it. Whatever you're going to share, you want that to happen immediately as far as like what you're going to share and then get right into it. So that intro hook is extremely important because again, YouTube is looking at that and going, are people sticking around or are they leaving? And if they leave, well, they're not going to show the video to more people. But more importantly, if they leave, you're not going to be able to build a relationship with them. You're not going to be able to offer your lead magnet to them. They'll never get further than the first 10 seconds. So we need to make sure that that intro hook is straight to the point, getting them excited and then getting them to lean in. All right. The second piece here is the content block. This is where you're going to teach the first step or the framework or the concept. Okay. And you're going to do this before you would make a mention to your lead magnet. Okay. We don't want to open it with a great intro hook and then saying, oh, by the way, if you want the playbook, go ahead and get it. We want to give it a little bit of time. Now, in the beginning of this one, because this is a full class, I did mention it in the beginning just as a resource because it's helpful. You might be like, you know what? I'm going to download it so I don't have to watch the whole video. You could totally do that. But in most cases, you're not doing that until you get into about 2 minutes to 5 minutes, somewhere in that range, depending on how long the video is. All right. So the second thing is we want to start delivering the content immediately. Teach the first step or concept. And the third is the CTA, the call to action. This is where we put that in somewhere where it makes sense. We're not going to force it. And I've shown you a few examples here recently, but if I was talking about this, the video outline, and I'm talking about the intro hook, I might say, and if you want to see more examples of the intro hooks that we've done in the past that have worked and probably could help you, go ahead and comment playbook down below and I'll send you that, where I give you multiple examples on how it works and how you can create your own. Just comment playbook down below and I'll send it to you. Like, that's how that would look, because if I had something that I'm referencing, most likely it's in my playbook. But you want to figure out a way to put that into your content. All right. And then the fourth thing is your content block. This is the second part of your content, and that's where you're going to complete the teaching and you're going to deliver on the solution. And so the last part of this video outline is probably one of the more important pieces. Is we want to lead them to the next video. What we don't want to do is let them think that the video's over. And that was a mistake I made years ago. And it would sound something like this. All right, guys, well, if you got value from this video, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know. And that's going to wrap up this video. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. And that's it, right? That's the ending. And people know that's the ending, and then they leave before you even say, I'll see you in the next video. So instead of that, while we're teaching number 4, right, in that content block number 2, what I want to do is I want to then bring something up that is related to something that I spoke about that's important, but I wasn't able to cover fully. So an example of this would be this. I would say, so that's the content sandwich as a whole. But the thing is if we don't get the intro hook right, well, no one's going to see content block 1. They're not going to see the CTA. They're not going to see content block 2. So what do we need to do? We need to have an extremely powerful hook. And that's where a lot of people struggle. And that's why I created a video right here that shows you different intro hooks that you could use immediately that have worked for us and will most likely work for you. Watch that video next and I'll see you there. That's how you end it. All right. And I started doing that probably 2 years ago. And what a dramatic difference. You can look at the end of your videos and see where people dropped off, and the drop off was so much less. And we also saw that people were now watching the next video in the sequence. All right. So that's something that you definitely want to do while you're setting up your video outline. You want to plan that out of where you're going to send them next. So this is your little weekly video outline template. You want to have your title. Obviously it comes from a good topic. You want your hook. You want 3 to 5 bullet points. You want your free offer woven in between your 3 to 5 bullet points. And then you want to know where are you going to send them at the end of the video so they can binge more of your content. All right. So you might want to use this right here for your next video, because I'm telling you right now, if you're prepared, it's going to make this process so much easier. All right, now let's move on to packaging. Probably another one of the most important pieces here, because if we don't stop the scroll, no one's gonna watch. And it's not gonna matter about our content sandwich that we just created, because no one's going to stop. So we have to make sure that we have our good title picked. We wanna know that we have our thumbnail that is ready to stop the scroll. And how do we do this? Well, I'm gonna show you some examples. So here's some of the criteria that we live by. Visually bold appeals to your niche. Minimal text supports title but doesn't repeat it. Clear promise connects to a specific problem, and a simple photo or screenshot from the video. So this is a perfect example of Gavin over here. He's sitting on a plastic chair, by the way, in his gym, and he's got 2 dumbbells. He's got 1 exercise, 25 muscles, and he's got a red arrow pointing to the dumbbells. That's it. So we have a bold color, that's his red shirt and the red arrow. We have a little bit of yellow text in there too, drop shadow, so it pops out a little bit. It doesn't repeat in the title. It's a clear promise, 1 exercise, 25 muscles, and it is solving a specific problem. People are saying, I don't have time in the gym. I need to have a lot of equipment. No, you don't. And here's exactly why. So that's a great example. This is also our signal number 2. Remember I talked about there's 3 different signals. This is like the signal that is going to get the attention of the algorithm and of your audience is this. The content sandwich isn't really part of that signal because, well, people aren't going to see it unless they click in. So signal number 2 is the thumbnail. Now this one right here, let's spend a second on this. I didn't listen. You see a plaque there, a silver plaque, and most people that are on YouTube that are trying to grow on YouTube or trying to build momentum on YouTube, trying to build an audience, they know what that means. Now, do me a favor, let me know in the comments, do you know what that silver plaque means before I tell you? Let me know in the comments. But before I do tell you, if you don't know, this right here, you would look at this and go, this is the most basic thumbnail. Why did it work so well? And I'll show you some numbers here in a second. Why did it work so well? Well, I'll tell you why. I didn't listen is automatically like going against something. And so you're curious. The other thing is, notice the reddish shirt. That wasn't an accident. I actually wore that day because I knew I was going to be shooting a video and I knew that it would probably look good on a thumbnail. And then let's talk about the silver plaque. What does it actually mean? It means 100,000 subscribers. And yes, I have another channel that we grew to 100,000 subscribers. And so right away, you look at that and you see the expression on my face, which is another important detail, the emotion that you're feeling. And it's like, I didn't listen. You can almost hear me saying that. And then you're wondering right away, how did you get that if you didn't listen? Or who didn't you listen to? So there's some questions going on, but you immediately know that's 100,000 subscribers because of that plaque. You immediately read, I didn't listen, and the red shirt, it got you to stop and kind of read anyway. So right there alone, no title yet. That's just the thumbnail. So the thumbnail's job is to do one thing. It is to stop the scroll and earn the click. But it's stopping the scroll. That's what we're doing. It grabs attention quickly. It creates curiosity or emotion, visually reinforces the title, and helps increase click-through rate. Okay, which is really, really important in the eyes of YouTube. Okay, now the thumbnail amplifies the title. These two work really, really well together. Okay, your title creates audience relevancy. Remember, we talked about that. Like your title needs to call out your audience so your audience can find you. And the algorithm also knows who to put it in front of. So that's the purpose of the title for the most part. Now, yes, someone's going to read it and go, oh, that's interesting. But they're not reading it until they actually see the thumbnail, because the thumbnail is what stops them and then they read. Okay. So your thumbnail amplifies emotion, curiosity, urgency, and tension. Okay. Together, they trigger the click, and nothing happens without the click. Okay. And if you read that title there, it says YouTube gurus lying to small creators, how to actually blow up. It's a little controversial, right? But it worked. And that one there got over 369,000 views. Okay. Did really well. Great thumbnail, simple title, but it got people's attention. So now this is what I call the thumbnail 3-second rule. And so what you want to do is you want to look at your thumbnail and you want to say, if no one reads my title, will they want to click? Will they understand who this is for, what this is about? And so if we read this first one, send your wife this video, immediately you're like, why would I want to send my wife this video? And then I read and I go, if intimacy is a struggle in your marriage, send your wife this. I'm like, oh, no, maybe, right? So it gets your attention, but you automatically know that it's for a wife. And if you're a husband, you'd be your wife, right? So these damage your marriage. Actually, that's a question. These damage your marriage? And then you're like, I don't know. Does it damage my marriage? Women, 7 patterns you don't realize are sabotaging your marriage. Okay. She'll never change. That's pretty bold. Men, start asking this before you give up on your marriage. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of these, but you can see the power in this, right? This destroys your marriages, right? So she used that one, these and this, and then this. And she repeated those two. If you look at that right there, because it worked, right? One was a year ago, one was 5 months ago. Okay. So thumbnail's job is to be able to process in 3 seconds or less. Is it something that grabs your attention? Repeat what works. I said this once, I said it again, and I'm going to say it again, because if something worked once, try it again. Okay. Learn from that data. And that's with thumbnails, and that's also with titles. So looking back at Jacob, the guy that I stumbled on about 2 years ago, his thumbnails stopped to scroll for me. They stopped to scroll for me. Is 3 million enough? Got my attention. Then I read the title. 1.7 million Roth conversions. I was looking into investing. I was looking into retirement. Huge tax savings. Okay, right? Retire at 62. I'm 53, right? 100K tax-free, right? So all of that stuff got my attention, got me to stop, read the title, and then decide if I was going to click. That's the job, okay? Signal number 3, retention. This is where it's going to tell YouTube if the video is being well received. Because if a viewer is watching longer and they measure the first 30 seconds and they also measure the first minute, but typically the first 30 seconds is where you're getting your analytics. That's how they base it. So that's on the YouTube side, right? If we can make that better, YouTube is going to push our video to more audiences like ours that we want to get in front of. But the other part of retention is if we keep people on our video longer, what happens? They see our lead magnet and they can become a lead. They also watch more of our video. What else does that do? It builds trust. If they watch more of our video, what else does that mean? We're building our authority, our expertise. So all of that stuff happens because we're holding the retention. And that's why it's super, super important. So these are the 3 momentum signals that work together. Title, audience signal, it gets in front of the right people. 2, your thumbnail, the click signal. It gets them to click on your video. And then retention is satisfaction signal, keeps them watching and satisfied. This is your momentum that is going to allow you to get pushed to more audiences. All right. And then you're going to have the compounding effect because we're going to get more views, more watch time, more recommendations, meaning we're going to be recommended alongside other videos, and our channel is going to be able to grow. And that's what we ultimately want. Now, the 5th thing is the upload. And this is going to be a quick little optimization checklist. All right. So when you are uploading your videos, we want to do some additional things, right? There's the basics of uploading a video. You got to have a title. You got to have your thumbnail. We already talked about that. You're just going to upload those or put those in their places. You're going to probably fill out your description, all the basic stuff. Okay. But I'm going to give you a little bit more than that. All right. Because if we take the time to optimize our video, we're going to become more discoverable. All right. So now I'm basing this off of uploading 1 to 2 videos per week, but let's just say we're going to start with 1. If we do 1, that's 52 assets per year. Okay. We want to also, this is extremely important, pick a day and a time of the week that you're going to post these videos. Okay. So if it's a Tuesday at 10 a.m., then that's the day, and stick to that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That's the day that it has to be done. And if you do that, you're going to be consistent now. And YouTube also likes consistency, and so does your audience. If you show up more, your audience has a greater chance of interacting with you and seeing you, right? So that's why we want to do that. And I just believe that when we have a routine like that, then it just becomes second nature. We get better at it. We learn from doing it. So we want to stay consistent. So your little optimization checklist here I have for you is schedule the video, okay, the time, the day, and you can even schedule it once you get it done so you don't have to do it at that time. Add it to a playlist. You want to create some playlists that are going to be related to the topic that you're talking about. So if it's questions about your relationship, questions about divorce, that might be a playlist. And then you would add it to that playlist. Because sometimes if someone goes in a playlist, they're going to stay there and keep watching videos in that playlist. The freebie link in the description. So when you put your link to your lead magnet, put it at the very top of the description. Okay, because you don't want them to have to go read more. So we want that to be there, right? Download our free Steady Leads playbook, link. And that's it. And then down below it, you have your description. All right. We also want to link our freebie in the pinned comments. So the minute the video goes live, we're going to go over to our comments. We're going to post that same thing. Download the Steady Leads playbook mentioned in the video, link, right? And then comment, pin. And then that way there, it's the first thing that is up at the top of your comments. So anybody that does make a comment, they're going to see that. And then the end screen is going to point to the next video, which is extremely, extremely important if we want to get that bingeable effect, okay, where people are going to start watching more and more of your stuff, all right? But the one thing I really want to highlight here is consistency is key. Right now, I would love it if you would commit to what day is going to be the best day for you every single week and what is going to be the best time for it to get uploaded, and then commit to that. And I'm telling you right now, if you commit to that for 6 months or even better, a year, I promise you, if you do this and you stick to it, you are going to have evergreen assets working for you while you sleep. All right. But you have to commit to it and you have to be consistent. All right. Number 6 is the engagement. So you might have noticed a few times throughout here, besides just mentioning our playbook where you can comment and get the playbook down below, which by the way, if you do want this full playbook by now, if you've been watching this and you're like, yeah, I want all of this so I can refer back to it, just comment playbook down below and I'll send you a copy of that. But besides doing that type of engagement, I've asked, hey, let me know. Do you know what the silver plaque for YouTube means? And you're going to probably comment down below, or you might, but I asked you to do that. It's a very simple question. You go, no, I don't know. Or you could be like, yeah, it means 100,000 subscribers, right? So that's a way for me to get engagement. If I was the relationship coach, I might be like, hey, let me know, how long have you been married for? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. So it's just an open-ended, easy question. So that's what we want to do. And so I'm going to give you some prompts here that you can do. So this way here, you can increase that engagement. So let's go through the checklist. So number 1 is your comment prompt. That's going to be whatever word it is that you're going to be mentioning for your lead magnet. For me, throughout this entire thing, it's been playbook. Okay. Now, the next one is reply to every comment. So every single comment that says they want your lead magnet, make sure that you follow up. Don't wait a week. Right? I would just make it a point to try to check in once or twice a day. Right? If you get it to them within 12 to 24 hours, that's great. I would say if you're around when your video goes live and you are getting some comments in the beginning, it's really important that you get back to those people just to show that there's early engagement. But that's what we want to do on those 2 things. That's a non-negotiable as far as comment your lead magnet, say, hey, let me know if you want it, playbook down below, and then reply back to those people, in a timely manner. Okay. Now, the other one, and this is the third thing, is use the community tab. You have a community area where you can post polls, questions, you can post pictures, you can post a link to your video. It's there. It's a separate part of the algorithm. And it's another way for you to get engagement. And then like comments. So when someone does comment, don't just reply, make sure that you also like it and also heart it. So that way there, you're getting as much engagement as you possibly can with the resources that you have available. All right. Bottom line is YouTube likes to see people engaging with content on their platform. It's their platform. And the engagement signals that there's value there and that the value is getting views. And the algorithm loves that. So why not give it to them as well and give it to your audience, because your audience is going to love it. So it's a win-win all the way around. And I did just want to share that this is the power of the call to action, by the way. So when you're doing those engagement pieces that I just mentioned, you can have this happen. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to happen on all your videos, because again, I am not going after just views. I am going after showing up, giving quality content that's attracting the ideal person that I could potentially help. And in this case, it's going to be coaches, consultants, and business owners, right? But 14,800 comments. Now, not all of those are a request for our lead magnet, but they're comments, right? We've got another one with 6,700, another one with 4,300, another one with 3,000. Those are engagement. Those are people that are commenting. So don't discount the power of the CTA. And the CTA could be just you asking, hey, how long have you been married? And again, if you're a relationship coach, or maybe you're a financial advisor and you're like, I'm curious, how many years until you want to retire? And then they would say, so it's just a way to get that engagement. And this is the power of those CTAs. All right. And the seventh thing is promote. Now, I don't mean promote like you might be thinking. You might be like, oh, he wants me to boost this, or he wants me to run ads against this. No, I don't think that you should run ads on your channel if you are going to be using this as an organic channel. I think it could actually hurt things in the long run because now it really messes up your analytics. So I would say if you were ever going to do that, by the way, I would do it on a separate channel that was designed just for paid ads. But this is talking about how do we promote our assets? Like, how do we do it? So this is a list that we use, okay? So we want to encourage content binging by sharing here, all right? So on the end card, okay, so at the very end of the video, hey, go watch that video next and I'll show you how to create really good, strong intro hooks to hold retention so you can get better retention for YouTube. Like, it would sound better than that, but you get the idea, right? Go watch that video. I'll see you there. That's what we're talking about there. We want to have that end card to promote another video, okay? We want to also use our email list to build KLT by sharing a new or just older helpful content that our subscribers would love, okay? So we want to share it with our email list. Now, one rule I do have is I typically will not send an email to a brand new video. I'll give it at least 7 days. And the reason why is because I don't want to interfere with YouTube's algorithm, because YouTube in the first 7 days, they are really trying to find an audience. They're testing a lot of different audiences, and I don't want to interfere with that with outside traffic. So for me personally, I wait 7 days, and a lot of times it's not a problem because I'll just send a video that might be 4 weeks old or maybe 4 months old. So you're probably going to have a lot of content in the future that will be older, and you don't have to send one, and let kind of the algorithm do its thing. So that's my rule there. All right. The next one is on your community tab. Feel free to share it there whenever you want. Nothing wrong with that. And it's a good idea. And then mention in other content. So topics are going to naturally overlap when you're creating for a specific niche. And so when you mention a video that you might have covered something, you might say, and oh, if you're interested in learning more about how I go ahead and create intro hooks, I'll go ahead and I'll link the video down below. That video might be, or I might mention that like, I don't know, a third of the way in. I'm not going to mention that way at the end. I might, but I might mention it there just to let people know, hey, check out the description down below. I've got some additional videos where I talk about that and I go a little bit deeper, right? That gets them to want to go in the description. What happens when they go in the description? They're going to see the link at the top that has the playbook, your lead magnet, whatever yours is. And they're also going to probably see the pinned comment, right? So I'm giving them a reason to go deeper, okay? And so that's why we would do that. We would mention other content in that piece of content. And then that way there, it kind of all works together, all right? But every view, click, and comment is going to add to our momentum in that flywheel that we've created, all right? And these small efforts compound over time. Don't skip them, all right? Use this checklist, and I'm telling you right now, it'll help. All right, and the eighth and final part of this is repeat. Repeat it. All right, we want to repeat this process. Now, I know it seemed like we covered a ton here. That's why you should probably come back, save this video, go through it, or get the playbook again. Just comment playbook and I'll send it to you and you'll see how it all works. But you can also refer back to this stuff. But we want to use this checklist. And once you start doing this again and again and again, it becomes so much easier. And it's really not that hard to begin with if we keep it simple. And I'm big about simplifying things. So let's go through this checklist real quick because this is what we're going to be doing when we are creating a video. So number one, we're going to pick that topic. We're going to solve that one problem for our niche, for our audience. 2, the title. We're going to get the right person to click it. 3, the video outline. That's where we're going to create our content sandwich with the CTA. 4, the packaging. This is where we're going to use scroll stopping thumbnails, and we're going to take that title and make sure it's paired well with it. 5, the upload. This is where we're going to optimize it and post it. And then 6, we're going to engage. We're going to engage in the comments. We're going to reply. We're going to like. We're going to ask questions. That's number 6. And then 7, we're going to promote it. We're going to promote it through our email after 7 days. We're going to post it inside of our community. We're going to get people to possibly binge loop it by linking out to another one at the end of that video, or we're going to mention it inside the video and let them know that we've added it to our description. All of those things are happening within that one video. And again, just follow this. Not that hard. We can actually go through on the topic and the titles. A lot of that stuff can be done way ahead of time. If you go through the authority blueprint, you're going to be able to have all of that stuff done, almost like you've got this resource that all you need to do is go in and figure out what one you want to do in what order. And then you're just going to go through this process. But all of the content ideation is done. But once you get through the authority blueprint, really all the ideation is done for quite a while. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be adding to it as you have conversations with people, your clients, or just in your community. You might come up with an idea that you want to put out there because you know that people are struggling with it and you want to be the one to help them. So you'll add that into your content queue. But to get started, we really need to come up with that authority blueprint. That's why I think you should definitely make that your first thing that you should do. And then from there, go through the process of building your flywheel and then creating your content machine and then picking a day, a time that you're going to upload every single week. So let's recap here real quick the Steady Leads system. Number one is your authority blueprint. This is going to clarify who you help, what you teach, and the transformation you deliver. And that is going to map out your content. 2, your Steady Leads flywheel. This is going to build the system that attracts, captures, and nurtures leads on autopilot. Number 3, your content machine. This is where you're going to create and publish evergreen videos that fuel the flywheel. And finally, number 4, that's where we're getting leads and we're getting clients by building authority, building trust, and getting those steady leads so we can have those conversations and so we can get those people a result, whether we work with them or we work with them in the future. But that is how we are going to be able to put this system to work so we can create something that we can have working around the clock, but by planning, being strategic, and not having to be on the content hamster wheel. So now I know we covered a ton of information and you're probably saying, all right, Scott, so where do I start? Well, just like I described in this video, because this is a full workshop, a full class, a course really. And where would I want you to go first? Well, I think that the authority blueprint is probably the first thing that we should be focusing on. So I recorded a video right here that breaks that down in more detail and gives you more examples on how you can do this for yourself. Watch that video next and I'll see you there. You see how that works? Go on over and watch it and I'll see you there.